Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Rolling with the Punches. I'm Jessie Punch, and I'm so happy you're here. I know, I left you guys on a huge cliffhanger last time we talked. I told you I was going to the Boulevard, going to Talladega, and gonna stop by the Boulevard. And then you just didn't hear from me. It took me 2 weeks to recover from the Boulevard. No, I'm totally kidding. But I did have quite an experience. It was wild. Not me. I did it very much J Punch style, which means not very much drinking and a lot of social anxiety. But either way, it was really fun. And I learned a lot. And I tried to take notes of the things that I saw, to be able to come back here and tell you guys about it and be like, oh, this and that. It turns out nothing on that list is appropriate. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. Can confirm the Boulevard is exactly what everybody says it is. Also, here's photo evidence. Yeah. You can see the social anxiety in the photo if you look close enough. But in other news, this week's episode is with Chance Crum. And if you are a dirt racing fan, you might recognize that name. But I understand that a lot of my listeners are probably NASCAR fans, so this will be fun for you guys to get to know somebody new. Chance currently races in USAC, as in sprint cars, but he started in pavement. So he has a very interesting perspective on racing, which is really fun to kind of dissect, if you will. But as far as his career goes, he has wins on both pavement and dirt in open wheel. He has a national title racing in the midgets, and he's got multiple track championships. 7, to be exact. 7-time champion, eh? Look at that. Anyways, like I said, Chance might be new to you guys. Chance was also kind of new to me. I've met him recently. I'm getting to know him. But this was my first real opportunity to sit down and really get to know him. So, that being said, we're all in this together. Wildcat style. We're all in this together. High School Musical? Anybody? Okay. Anyways, without further ado, here's Chance Crum. Oh, you ready? Were you a SpongeBob kid?
A little bit, yeah.
You hesitated, which makes me think you weren't like a SpongeBob kid.
I mean, I watched it a fair amount. I can't say I've seen all of it, but
that's fair.
We definitely quote it a lot.
Okay, cool. That's all I was wondering.
Yeah,
I didn't know if you were one of those people that if I quote SpongeBob, you're like,
no.
Cool.
No, we definitely get them, yeah.
Cool. I'm so glad we got that out of the way. Chance Crum, welcome to Rolling with the Punches.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for being here. You don't even live here, so I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, down here in Charlotte for the week, so excited to get to come and do this.
And I'm gonna go ahead and just get the elephant in the room out of here or whatever, but I don't really know you. To be honest, I feel like everybody else that I interview on this show, I know them. I've worked with them or have relationships with them. I don't really know you that well, but I'm excited because this is going to be getting to know you.
Yeah.
As well as the viewers getting to know you. So that being said, will you tell us your full name? Because that I do know, and that is a good one.
Yeah, Chancellor Dale Crum.
One more time?
Chancellor Dale Crum. And yeah, I guess not a lot of people know that. I always go by Chance. So a lot of
Chancellor Dale.
Yeah.
Chancellor Dale.
Yep.
Okay, so the first time that I heard that, I was like, you're messing with me. And they're like, no, for real. Chancellor is so regal, and then you just hit him with the Dale. Where does this come from?
Well, both my parents worked in the casino gaming industry, so they picked Chance. And they wanted me to be named Chance, but they wanted it to be a little fancier, a little bit more.
Oh yeah, a little high class.
Yeah.
They said if he's gonna be a gambling guy, he's gonna make some money.
Yeah.
Chancellor.
Yeah, so they added a little bit of flair to it, put the lure on it, so it's Chancellor. And then I had an uncle Dale, but my dad was also a big Dale Earnhardt fan, and he got to pick the middle name, so we ended up Chancellor Dale.
That's so stellar. That's so cool. So, were you then a NASCAR fan?
Yeah.
Growing up?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if you had a kid right now, what would you give if you got to pick their middle name? What would you go with? Sorry, not to put you on the spot or whatever. I'm hypothetically speaking, you have a child. No, I just didn't know. Dale, that's so if you. I mean, Joey's a huge Jeff Gordon fan. You throw Jeff in there as a middle name.
Yeah.
Me? No.
No. Okay. I guess not. Think on it. We can come back to this. But that being said, grew up a NASCAR fan.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up a NASCAR fan. I come from a racing family. I'm a third generation driver, so I always grew up around pavement racing and being, watching NASCAR with my dad. That's kind of how I got my interest in it. And it wasn't until I was probably about 15 that I finally switched over to dirt racing. So
Really?
yeah,
Interesting. Okay, so I guess I didn't realize then that you didn't start earlier in dirt. My thought was that was always been your career path.
yeah, yeah. I grew up in pavement, so I started racing quarter midgets. We grew up racing right next to Evergreen Speedway in Washington, and that was kind of my background. My dad grew up around late model racing and stock cars there at Evergreen and kind of around the Northwest, and then my grandpa raced a little bit of late models and stuff, but he was mostly known for figure eight racing. Actually, he was a
That's
big figure
awesome.
eight guy, like multi-time champion there and stuff, and so that was kind of my family's racing history. And then eventually, my dad and I both found dirt racing. We'd go up to Deming and Skagit Speedway back home and watch some races, and we fell in love with that. And then when it became old enough, got out of quarter midgets, that's what we switched to.
How old were you before they really let you do it?
I was just before I turned 7 is when I started.
Solid.
Yeah. So some people, I mean, you can start at 4.5. My little brother started at 4.5, but yeah, right at just before 7. So it's pretty young.
That cracks me up that you say I was a little bit older than some. Like a 7-year-old? Have you seen a 7-year-old lately? Like to put that thing in a race car, much less a dirt car. That's a total different style of racing. I mean, you watch those things like the open wheel, all of it. Like I can't imagine a 7-year-old in it. You mentioned your dad and your grandpa in their careers. How involved were they in getting you started?
They were huge, yeah. My dad took me to races. I mean, I've been going to races like NASCAR racing since I was a baby. I think I was probably 1 at my first race. He took me to a couple quarter midget races when I was, 6, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And he kind of showed me around, and eventually we got a car and got to start doing that. I wasn't around. I didn't get to see my grandpa race at all. I actually didn't get to see my dad race either, but always growing up around that scene for sure.
So going back to growing up a NASCAR fan, I won't put the responsibility on you of naming your child, but did you have a favorite driver growing up?
Yeah, I was always a big Dale Jr., Dale Sr. fan. Actually, when I was a kid, so probably when I was like 10, we were picking our numbers for our car. I picked 83. And so that's the number that I stuck with. And that's actually now, fast forward, 20 years later, that's actually the number we are now in sprint car, still the 83. It's just something I've kept kind of throughout my life. So
what a cool story.
not a lot of people know that, but that is where that originally came from. It's a decision I made at 9, and then you just kind of stick with it.
And you just stick with it.
Yeah.
That's really neat. It's funny too that you made that decision at 9 and now as an adult, you're like,
Yeah.
Stands.
Yeah, life decisions at 9 years old, no big deal.
So growing up a NASCAR fan, you've been to races since you were 1 years old. What do you remember?
I mean, when I was really little, not much, right? You just...
Of course.
You're
Yeah.
too
You don't
young,
have
but-
memories from your first race at 1?
Not quite, no. Probably just
all
the
right.
noise. I probably can't hear very well now. But no, yeah, I mean, I was always a big fan of the sport. I remember watching races with my dad and just kind of learning the sport kind of through his eyes, you know what I mean? And then as soon as my little brother was old enough, he kind of became a fan, and that's just kind of something we did as a family.
Do you remember getting your first race car?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because just about a month ago, my mom found an old video camera that she used to record everything with when we were kids. She had it sent into a place and they turned it into like digital copies.
That's
and
awesome.
on that was a video of Christmas morning, and they had in the garage like my first ever quarter midget. And it was the video of me walking in and like them taking like the cover off and like the reveal of that and all that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I remember the story, and then we actually just recently got to watch the video of it too. So it was pretty cool.
That is so neat. Wow. And to unexpectedly, have that video, being able to, like your mom finding that's incredible. So then in this transition from pavement to dirt, why did you want to do that? Especially if you had the history in pavement racing.
Well, it was something at the time. We had just kind of really got into dirt racing as a fan. We'd go up to Deming and watch the micro races there, and then we'd go to Skagit and watch the sprint car races there. And I mean, it's such an awesome spectacle. We was like, okay, this is really cool. And then for us personally, it was coming off of a time where my mom had just finished her battle with breast cancer and just gotten through all of that. And so we had taken a year off of racing as a family and kind of had sold everything, and we were looking for like a fresh start. And at the time, that was when, that was kind of what we could afford at the time. You can get started in dirt racing for pretty cheap. And so we got in just kind of at a low level and started with that in a restricted micro. And then from there, it always stuck.
Just took off.
Yeah.
Is your mom okay now?
Yes.
Good to
She definitely is one of the strongest women I know. And she was a great fighter on that and was able to get through that all great. And she's still a big part of our race team now. She comes to our races. She helps me wash the car after races, and she's always been a huge help.
That's fun. It's truly a family operation over
absolutely.
there. So did she have any hesitancy, though, in putting her 7-year-old in that quarter midget?
No, my mom definitely was not a big fan of times when we were going pretty fast. Like, she was a little scared of that, but then eventually got used to it, and she would enjoy it. And then when I would move up to it, kind of move up the ladder a step into a little bit faster car, then she would go through a period of being a little nervous, and then it just kind of from there, and I think now at this point she doesn't like certain ones. Like, she didn't go to Eldora last week, but she's still always a huge supporter. But every once in a while I might watch a race from home or something, but she's always been my biggest supporter, so always very thankful for her.
She's a mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's gonna be like always. I mean, my mom, she thinks that she always calls the term "I'm dead in a ditch." If she doesn't know me or doesn't hear back from me, she's like, "You were dead in a ditch somewhere." So it's a mom, but she's gonna support you in the best way.
Yeah.
So your brother, then, is he still racing?
He doesn't race. He started when he, like I said, he was 4.5, and he started out in quarter midgets and kind of went through that same whole path I did. And then eventually he got into the same restricted micros that I did, and we had a little 2-car team there for a little bit, so that was always fun. We have a lot of great memories as a family racing quarter midgets. Got really fortunate. We got to travel around the country a bunch, go to some national races, see a lot of really cool places, and we have a lot of great memories with that. Now, since then, because at the time he was also big into soccer. He was a goalie, trying to do some fancy soccer stuff.
Good for him.
He retired from racing kind of temporarily, and now he's back big into it as part of our team. He's kind of our car chief and has been a big supporter of my racing. He moved out to Indiana with us.
Nice.
And he travels to all the races with me. He'll go with me also when I race cars for other people. He always be there helping me, and so it's really fortunate to have him and all that he does. But
I'm sure
definitely a family sport, and very thankful for them.
Because in addition to him being your brother and just having him there to help you, like that's you don't have a better relationship with anybody else than your brother.
Right.
But he also knows what you're going through. I mean, he has all that racing experience, so he can be able to help you in ways that other people wouldn't. When you mentioned earlier that you were a 2-car team and you went to a 1-car team, and you said it kind of just took off from there, did you have success in a way that all of a sudden it was like, we're gonna do this thing?
I think the biggest thing for me is I was very fortunate to meet the right people at the right time and get the right opportunities. And that's kind of what it takes in the sport, right?
Sure.
I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to kind of race at the next level up at what I was doing. And then from there, we're able to have success. And then that opened up another opportunity. We went from 600s to 1200s to focus midgets. Then I started racing 360 wing sprint cars. We started racing a little bit of pavement-focused midgets, pavement wing sprint cars, and I got to do a lot of really cool stuff. We got to do a lot of different types of racing in the Northwest, and sometimes we had a lot of races where we're racing 3 cars in one night. So we got to do a lot of stuff, and then from there, eventually that spread to an opportunity to where I got to move out to the Midwest.
Is there anything that you haven't raced that you reasonably would want to try?
Yes, I've been very fortunate to get to race a lot of cool things. The one that I got really close to is I tested a pavement late model. I guess what would now be like a pro late model. I tested it and I was supposed to run it, but unfortunately their engine blew the week before I was supposed to race it. So I only have the one test in it. So I never got to actually race it. So that's kind of like on my racing bucket list. For me personally, the thing that I want to race most next would be Silver Crown. Kind of in the USAC banner. I've been doing midgets, now sprint cars, and I really want to try to get into Silver Crown next.
So explain to me then, because I've already said it a million times, because I don't want anyone to think that I know what I'm talking about. I don't know dirt racing. In pavement racing, you're in control.
Yeah.
Like you the track is what it is, and then you are racing. So I'm doing a terrible job explaining this. But no, in dirt, you're like adjusting to the track. It's a total different thing. So like every lap being different. Like I just feel like in NASCAR, you're I don't want to say you're playing a long game, but you have a strategy because you know the track, how the track somewhat will change.
Yeah.
Dirt, it's like good luck next lap because whatever happened last lap hits that dirt everywhere.
Right.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. Dirt racing, there's definitely, it's a lot more focus on finding optimal lines on the changing track. And so like, not only throughout the race night, obviously, as the track, will slick off throughout the race, or throughout the race night, but then throughout the actual race itself, it'll change a lot. You'll see the optimal line change from the very bottom to the very top of the track, sometimes the middle, high, low, cut down, slider lines. Like there's all sorts of different stuff. And those are my favorite races. Like the most fun for me is when it's a super wide track and there's like 12 different options of lines you can run and just race. You know what I mean? Like pavement racing, to me, it depends on the track, obviously, but there's a lot of times where it's all about just optimizing the one line. And there's, some variations you can do for that. But that's the nice thing about dirt racing is you're always searching for something different. If you're stuck in 10th place, it's not like just, okay, how can I do this line a little better? It's, okay, I'm going to go try and sail the top, or I'm going to try the middle. And, there's always options and ways to find around. So that's what makes it fun to me. And one of the biggest differences, in my opinion.
It's that decision making.
Right.
You have to, obviously, racing of all types, you have to think fast, but this is a total different kind of thinking. It's like the decision making, but also the ability to feel out the track. That's just very different than in NASCAR. So what is it then about some of these people that we see, like obviously Kyle Larson, but the Christopher Bells, even I'll mention Jade again, like that are so good at coming and doing both? What do they have? Like, what is the quality that translates really well that you can find success in both pavement and dirt?
I think I've seen, especially in the last, however many years, like all the people you just mentioned, like the amount of car control that you have to be the top, racers in dirt racing, like the amount of car control you have to have makes you really good on pavement.
That makes sense.
Obviously there's a lot of pavement drivers that have great car control, but I think to be the best on dirt racing, you just have to have that little extra sense of feeling the track, feeling everything your car is doing, and trying to optimize that every single corner of every lap. And so then when those top drivers are able to, run a pavement race and, learn that and find success like you're talking about, I think that's kind of where that comes from, is that amount of car control and allowing them to try to optimize, every line, try different stuff, kind of feel out the race and stuff like that. I think that's where you see that success come from.
One of the other biggest differences that I see is, I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but cars don't catch air in NASCAR, or at least they're not supposed to.
Yeah. They do every once in a while.
Every once in a while, Ryan Preece will decide to go take off at Talladega, but that happens more often in what you're doing. That's wild to me. You're in an open wheel and you're flying through the air. Have you ever had an instance? Like, how do you describe that to me?
Yeah. Usually it's you close your eyes and you cross your arms and you just keep hoping for it to stop.
And you start praying.
Yeah. Usually it takes a lot longer than you want it to. Everything slows down.
You can get at least one verse of like, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah.
In time. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
It's basically every time you're flying through the air. Yeah. I've had some bad ones. I'm fortunate that I've not have anything, super bad. You've seen in dirt racing, there's been some really bad ones. I've been, knock on wood, been fortunate so far. Thank you. But yeah, it's with open wheel racing, that's definitely always an element too. It's very close quarters. People will make contact and stuff, but you have to do it in the right places. Sometimes like if you're coming off the top and you got a big run and you get really close to someone's right rear, you're almost going to wheel hop and go flying down the backstretch. So you got to be really careful with that. People throwing sliders and stuff, you're always heads up, like watching out during the race.
That just, again, growing up watching NASCAR, that's so wild to me.
Yeah, it's definitely the least fun part of dirt racing. I don't recommend it. I've had a few good ones that I'm not overly fond of, but
That's fair. Don't recommend. So I do a segment then with my guests where I ask them about your next favorite driver. Not yours necessarily, but just somebody that you would think that we should look out for. Dirt, pavement, whatever you got. Do you have one for me?
You know, I think right now, like one of my favorites to watch would be Cole Raz. He's a long
Because
time,
he's your friend?
yeah, he's a long
Okay,
time
got it,
family
cool.
friend. I've known him since he was literally a baby. And so it's really cool to see all the stuff that he's doing and always rooting for him and his success.
Running Arca.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Cole's a great one. Cole's a good person to follow. And he's really tall.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, if you want a tall NASCAR driver,
yeah,
Cole.
yeah.
I was actually, Cole used to race Arca West. And I remember covering him, 3 years ago or something like that. And I remember I, did interviews with him and stuff. So then when I kind of, reestablished a friendship with him in the last year, he was like, do you remember interviewing me? I was like, yes. Do you remember talking to me?
Yeah.
And apparently it was one of his first real interviews. So it was just funny to think that, and he did great. So you picked a good one.
Perfect.
Yeah. You're good. Cole Raz, your next favorite driver. So racing then, is it your full-time job? Do you have other things on the side?
It's not my full-time job. It's definitely what my life revolves around. But I definitely do lots of work on the side. Actually, I have a few different businesses. We have a racing media company. We have a racing software, team management app, and we do a lot of stuff with that. And then recently, I've also have a 3D printing and engineering company. And so I stay pretty busy, kind of got my hands in quite a few different things, but I've been very fortunate that along the way in racing, I've been able to kind of build businesses in the racing industry. And so it's made it a lot of fun.
There seem to be very different types of businesses as well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when I was in high school, I was studying engineering and kind of wanted to go that route. And I decided that I wanted to go to college and kind of get a degree to have a good backup plan because, the dream's always, to be a full-time race car driver, but you never know. So I always wanted to kind of have that backup plan. So I went to college for engineering. And
Where'd you go to school?
At University of Washington.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep, and so I graduated from University of Washington, but halfway through, I switched from engineering to media. And I was doing at the time a lot of my own media just because, it's expensive. I wanted to learn how to do it myself and eventually got, to where I was pretty happy with my own work. And I found a new interest in that and kind of went down that path. And I ended up switching my degree to that. And that was something that I kind of fell in love with, and it fit with the racing super well. And I started finding a bunch of work. And then my buddy Kyler Hope and I, we got partnered together in 2020 during the COVID year. He was photographer, videographer, doing great work. And we kind of realized, hey, I think we can put something together here. You're doing all the video and photo stuff. I do graphic design and the marketing stuff. And that kind of fits together to kind of offer more of a full service to racers. And so it's something that we started doing for people in the Northwest just to kind of help them get their racing media to where, certain levels that they needed to for, trying to find sponsors and, any help that we can give them. And so that was something that we've been doing for, about 5 years now. And it's been a lot of fun to kind of grow that over the years and work on that brand. And we met a lot of great people through that. So that's been really cool. And then recently, last year, I actually just started back into engineering. I got back into kind of my 3D printing and engineering past and was able to start a business in that. Been growing that. It's not officially launched yet. It's just been a lot of word of mouth so far, but it's been keeping me really busy. And so we've been having a lot of fun doing that too.
Okay, wait. Pause. Pitch me on. Have you watched Shark Tank?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Mark Cuban.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Do you have an elevator pitch ready?
No. But I'll try my best.
Well, too bad. I'm Mark Cuban.
Perfect.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So what we do is we offer racing media services, kind of a round table of a little bit of everything. So we can offer photography, videography, graphic design, so hero cards, marketing decks, a little bit of everything just to help people get racing media that they need to get the level of professionalism to help them get sponsors and the support they need.
Okay. I'll give you $30,000.
Perfect.
For 40% of the company.
Ooh. I don't know what to think about that, but
Okay. Well, I need time to raise $30,000 or whatever I just promised you. So
I appreciate it.
Cool. We can think on it. No, that's really neat though. And what I've learned about you through this interview is that you have a very impressive brain. Let me explain. The ability to think like an engineer and have that side of your brain and to be able to do so successfully, have a business, have gone to school for engineering is one way of thinking. And then to have the creative nature as well of being able to understand marketing and even just design and all of that is a total different side of your brain, truly. And most people have one or the other. And you seem to have professionally excelled at both. That's very impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's. I feel like my kind of engineering mindset. That's also kind of how I approach racing. That's kind of how I grew up. I grew up around a lot of that stuff, and like through middle school, even high school, like that's what my interests always were, and what I was studying. Went to college for that before I switched, and that's kind of how I approach racing, just from a very technical, analytical standpoint. Getting very technical on like weight transfers of cars and what's where and getting very specific. But when I was in college and I was doing so much media, it's just kind of something I'd fell in love with. I didn't know that was an interest of mine until I started doing it.
You hadn't really done anything creative prior to then?
No.
Much?
Yeah. I have a little bit of family history in the creative side. Like I have some family members that are artists, but for myself, that was not something that I ever really did. So once I kind of found that, it was kind of a little bit of a niche thing, and then thankfully we've been able to kind of grow that a little bit. So it's been fun.
So in Mark Cuban fashion, I completely cut you off, but also you didn't sell me on the name of your businesses in your elevator pitch. So will you go back and actually give me the names of all of your companies, because I realized that I didn't let you finish.
Yeah. So we have Elevate Racing Media, which is our racing media company. And then I have 83 Customs, which is our 3D printing and custom engineering. And then we also have Pit Logic. Pit Logic is a company that I actually have with my dad. That's something that we've built together. My dad actually created Pit Logic in the 90s. So it's racing software for team management.
Oh, okay.
And it was something that he created back before I was born. And he tried to actually come down here to Charlotte and pitch it to NASCAR teams. And unfortunately, it was just a little bit before his time. He got told that it was not really room for computers and racing and stuff. And then now, of course, you see all the computers and data they have. So he's a little bit early. But then when we were in quarter midgets, my dad was able to kind of evolve that software and all of the data that he collects with that into a little bit of it was like an old Palm Pilot, kind of a early tablet.
Okay.
And he sold that a little bit in quarter midgets, nothing
neat.
huge. And then in 2017, I believe it was, he made an app. So it was on, phones, tablets, wherever, whatever app store you have. And then with that app, him and I partnered together because I was doing in school, a big part of my design stuff was also user interface and user experience design. So I was able to work with that on him, and that's kind of a little bit of our, kind of project we do on the side. He's got a full-time job outside of that, but that's something that we work on together and have kind of grown over the years. So it's been a cool project as well.
That's really neat. And to have a chance to work with your dad in other capacities than just, in racing.
Yeah.
Obviously in racing, but you know what I mean? A little different there. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense where you get that side, where you got that side of your brain from.
Yep, exactly.
You think like your dad. That makes total sense. And it's neat that you were kind of able to find a way to transition from engineering to media. It wasn't like you had to pick one. You've been able to do it all, which is really cool.
Yeah. Originally, I had kind of switched, and it's something I got away from the engineering stuff, but it's something I've always had an interest in, and I've always done just a little bit of it. And then recently, in the last 2 years, I just started getting back into it, and I've started making racing products with the A3 Customs business. We started making, different organizational stuff for trailers and race shops and some different race parts. And we found there was a market for it. So it was something that I was able to kind of turn into a business and working on growing that still. And so I'm really happy to have kind of been able to bring that back into my life and start doing that because it's something I really enjoy.
You 3D print things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do a lot of 3D printing and laser engraving. So a little bit of both.
I don't understand 3D printing. I don't mean to sound dumb.
No.
But like, I don't get it. I watch those machines. I'll be real. I watch those TikTok videos that'll come up. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? You'll see TikTok videos and it'll be like 3D printing something.
Yeah.
I can't look away. Like, I don't understand it, but it's the coolest thing. I don't know. I feel like I would use my 3D printing powers for the wrong things. Like I would, I don't know what, I would build little like alien figurines or something.
There's
like
a lot of that. There's definitely a lot of markets for that. I haven't got into that, like I've always thought like, okay, with some extra time, maybe we start making some like more like trinket type stuff. But the racing product stuff has kind of taken off and kept me busy enough. It's been really cool.
Well, that's great. I mean, professional. If you want my professional opinion, I would stick with the racing stuff. But if you ever do decide to get into the miniature alien or trinket,
well, every once in a while you got to make
realm,
something a little nerdy, have some fun with it. But
I
for the most
know
part,
a girl that'll
stuff.
order from you, I guess is what I'm saying.
Good to know. Perfect.
Yeah. So I do a segment with all of my guests. It's called Long Story Short because we don't know each other very well, but I'm sure one of the things you've learned about me in that time is that every story I tell is going to be the 2-disc DVD set version. So apologies.
I'm in the same boat.
Perfect. So my point in that is that you make these answers as long or as short as possible.
Right.
If you want to cut me off, that's fine. Say nothing. If you want to go on a 10-minute tangent, bring it on.
Okay.
First question. When was the last time that you cried?
Oh, gosh. That's a great question.
I'll tell you what. Every man I've asked this question, they like literally have to go, oh, geez. Every woman is like, yesterday.
Right.
Like everyone knows, like remembers the date of when they cried last.
I don't know if I have a good answer for you, to be honest with you.
You never cried?
Oh, I definitely have.
Oh, okay.
Definitely have. I mean,
I was going to say, are you a liar? Because,
no.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say probably like the last time I was in like the most pain. So like one of my more recent crashes, just when you're kind of like hunched over, like I've hurt some of my ribs before. I actually injured my heart one time.
And you cried?
And you just kind of, it's the natural reaction.
That's when you
get the wind knocked out of you. You get muffed up pretty good.
I think that's fair. How long ago do you think that was?
Probably like last year. I don't know.
Cool. I probably haven't cried in that long either. That's,
well, you don't.
Yeah. That's so funny to me. Second question. When was the last time that you did something that you just felt an immense amount of pride in what you accomplished?
That's a great question also.
Thank you.
I mean, I think for me, like I'd say the most pride that I felt in accomplishments would definitely have to be tied to like, race wins, right? I mean, that's how it goes. I feel like lately though, some of the success we've found in some of my business goals also have been pretty cool. So it's kind of a little bit of both. I'd say like my most recent race win, like we won a national midget race. That's
awesome. Where?
Career-wise, I-55
in
Missouri.
Tell me about it.
So we won Extreme Midget Series. So it was like one of the national midget series. We won a race at I-55 there. So that was pretty cool. It was the Ironman weekend there with the World of Outlaws.
Okay. No. Unfamiliar.
No, yeah. So it was a big race weekend there. And so it was also really like tough track conditions, like rough tracks, like kind of all over the place. And that's not really my forte anyways. And so something like that to be able to kind of get that, notch in the belt, that was pretty cool in terms of most recent. I mean, I'm fortunate to have some pretty, cool ones in my racing career, but I think also with, some of my businesses as well and some of the accomplishments that we've had there have been pretty cool too.
I think I get what you're saying about race wins, and everybody has, you know,
Of
a
course,
favorite
right.
one or
Yeah.
something. But for you to go to a track where you don't expect necessarily to run well and then go in and win, like
Yeah.
I can totally understand where that one would feel like a little bit more of a sense of accomplishment
Yeah.
because you beat something that you also didn't think that you could conquer.
Yeah,
That's super cool.
that's one of the hardest things. I think with the midget racing we've done the last, you know, kind of in the past few years, we got to go to so many different new tracks that I've never been to. I mean, I've only ever seen on TV, right? And going to all those different tracks, like that was the hardest part, is trying to learn all of these new things. And we were traveling around the country with the National Midget Tour as a family team, and we were all brand new to it. So we're trying to learn the car, you know, how to do your day-to-day operations and, you know, all the different things you got to do with the race program. At the same time, also trying to learn myself as a driver, you know, what I got to do. And so going to, you know, through all those new experiences, being able to kind of go to so many different types of tracks and kind of learn all those things was pretty cool to be able to kind of conquer some different ones.
So final question. One piece of media, it can be anything, song, podcast, website, Instagram account, that you recommend our viewers check out. Netflix show, anything.
Well, I'm always like, the biggest thing that I watch on TV, like the most recent show that I watched was Severance. And that was pretty good.
I've heard that's great.
Yeah.
Was it actually good, or like
It was
is
good.
it just
I like
like
it. It's not for everyone.
on right now and everybody is high on it?
It's not for everyone. I was definitely a fan of it. Me personally, though, like the more honest answer would probably be like Star Wars, like Marvel stuff.
Okay,
that's
that's
what I'm
where you
big
should have
into, so-
started. Okay.
Well,
You tried to be
there's,
like
the
relatable for a
professional
second, and then
answer,
you were
yeah.
like, "Hang on, actually."
That's like the professional answer, right? And
Yeah.
then there's like, okay, yeah.
Oh wait,
actually,
wait,
I'm
hold
kind of
on.
a nerd,
I didn't
so-
realize we were being professionals. Sorry. Go on. Tell me more about Star Wars because that's
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So I'm definitely a nerd. So I watched all of the the latest Marvel and Star Wars stuff. So
What's your favorite Star Wars episode?
I mean, the classics. You got to go classic Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. That's probably, to be honest with you, my most watched movie of all time. Which I don't know if that's something to be proud of or not, but
That's great.
when I was 8, I probably watched that movie on repeat. So that and Cars. Those are the two,
of course.
like, #1 movies. So
Of course.
yeah.
My favorite Star Wars character is Jar Jar Binks.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. That is probably the least
You
popular
are being
Star
a
Wars character.
professional. I know. That's why I said that. I was curious to see how you would react if you would actually
Yeah.
call me out or if you.
No.
I was just
Hey,
joking.
respect.
It's not actually Jar Jar Binks.
Okay.
I feel like everybody's like, yeah, okay. You said, all right.
Hey, fair.
You tried to let me down easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice of you. At least somebody tried to let me down easy, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
I respect it.
Well, anything else you want to plug while you're here besides Star Wars?
Well, that's the main thing I'm here to talk about. So
Perfect. Shall we get started?
yeah, we could be here for a few hours for doing that. So we don't want to go down that route.
Honestly, Chancellor Crum sounds like a Star Wars character. Does it not? So yeah, okay, that checks out. But I hope y'all enjoyed getting to know Chance. I enjoyed getting to know Chance. So be sure to keep up with him. Follow him on social media. I'll put all of his information in the description to this podcast. By the way, I'm going to Kansas this weekend. Very different environment than Talladega. So it'll be a nice, reset. No, I'm totally kidding. But if you're going to Kansas too, then cool. See you there. That's all I got for y'all this week. Be sure to follow us on what are we on? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Y'all know the drill. We're on all podcast platforms, and just do all the things that you do when you have a favorite podcast. Okay. I love you guys. Thank you for listening, Mom. I love you so much. Thank you for listening. And to send you off into this weekend, in the wise words of my mother, just don't be a dumbass, okay? Love y'all. Bye.